My name is Dan Dorval, and I'm President and CEO of Dorval and Cherney Financial Advisors. I am an independent certified financial planner and author of my book, Financial Success for the Rest of Us, Reality Based Financial Planning for Mainstream America.
Hi, my name is Leah Woodley. I'm an associate financial advisor with Dorval and Cherney Financial Advisors. Our conversations discuss what it means to do quality of life planning in all areas of your life.
Dan, I recently met with a couple who just came in for a discovery meeting, so we didn't get into any planning, but their goal is just to have financial independence. They don't necessarily have any specific retirement goals. I know most of our clients that come in, they do have defined retirement goals, but this couple didn't have any defined retirement goals. They just really wanted to have flexibility to be able to travel and do the things that they want to do. They're still open to working. They don't see themselves, not working during their life, but they just want freedom. How do you approach planning differently with this type of situation than with someone who does have a specific retirement goal?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it resonates pretty well with me because we talk about this all the time. I don't intend on necessarily retiring in a conventional sense because our jobs are not that hard. I can do this for a long time, and we're not doing it for the money. So when I talk like that, it actually makes planning a little bit more complicated because you want to address the idea that if something happens, so maybe I get disabled, I've had a health issue, something has happened in my life that causes me, maybe I decide to retire because something has changed. I need to be in a position to be able to make that happen. So I can't just assume that it's going to all work. So the idea of financial independence is a little bit more vague than a conventional, I want to retire at this age with this much money and here's all this, the resources I have for that. That's a little bit easier planning. Financial independence, um, it fits well with our concept of quality of life planning because the whole point of financial planning, as far as we're concerned, is to have consistently good quality of life over an entire lifetime. Well, if I don't plan to retire, I might have more available resources to do more traveling when I'm younger, for example. So when our kids were little, we traveled a lot. We did a lot of those types of things. Well, now our kids are older. We don't do as much of the, certainly not family type travel as we used to. So in this case, it's, talking to them about what's important to them. It's their values and priorities that matter. And then working through to align their resources in a way that might be completely different than almost everybody else that we help.
Yeah. What types of blind spots should they be aware of?
Well, the blind spot is not thinking through what happens if my goals change.
Mm,
So,
mhm.
yes, I was focused on financial independence. I want to make sure I'm okay, but I didn't intend to be able to, I didn't intend to retire. And now something's happened and I'm forced to retire or I'm forced to have a change in my quality of life. We still have to prepare for, I guess you'd call it the worst.
Mhm.
And so the blind spot is that we get so enamored with what we're trying to do today that we go, okay, I don't need to save for retirement, for example, because I don't plan to retire. And then something happens and we go, oh, now you're in an oops situation and we're not in a good position to be independent.
Yeah. So I hear you saying that saving is still necessary, even if you do plan to work all of your life. So that's a good point um, to keep in mind. What type of complexities may come with working for, the rest of your life? Is there anything that you may miss in considering that?
So, this is a lot of the retirement aspects that we talk about all the time,
Mhm.
taking Social Security, going on Medicare, setting up retirement income streams, maybe even required minimum distributions when
Mm,
somebody is somewhere between 73 and 75, depending on their age. all of these factors start to play in. And if I'm still working when I'm 80, if
Mhm.
I happen to be, maybe I'm on Medicare, I might be paying Medicare surcharges. So my Medicare might be dramatically more expensive. Maybe I don't care.
Mhm.
I'm not sure, but they want to be aware that it's going to affect, depending on the type of job I have. Maybe I'm 75 years old. I have to take required minimum distributions from the money I saved. Well, I don't really want to because I'm still working, but
Yeah.
yet I have to. And so understanding like how and why you save, if somebody's really focused on more of an independence type of movement as compared to a conventional, I'll call it a conventional retirement plan,
Mhm.
in many cases, I will push them a little bit more towards a Roth concept rather than a pre-tax concept.
Mm.
And part of the reason why is not so much that, I don't necessarily expect my tax rates to go down when I'm
Right.
retired because I may not be retired. So if my tax rates aren't going to change a whole lot necessarily, at least under my control, the Roth gives me more flexibility because I can take it out in chunks tax free if I need to. There are no required minimum distributions. If I end up leaving it to heirs, it's income tax free. So for somebody who has more of a vague idea
Mhm.
about how they might use money, but yet I still need them to save and accumulate, a Roth is often a little bit more attractive option than pre-tax.
That's a great point. I'm glad you mentioned that. Well, is there anything else that you want to add to this discussion?
I think one of the biggest challenges for somebody who says, I just want to focus on being independent and living, my best life today, but also being prepared for living my best life in the future. I think one of the biggest challenges is they will end up saying, what more do I need to do?
Mm.
Like, what else do I need to be doing? Because usually they're goal oriented people.
Yeah.
And then from a planning perspective, we go, well, you're not really setting a goal out here.
Mhm.
So it's hard to identify the more that you might need to do for anticipating that. Really, it's more spending today and creating quality of life while still planning for that somewhat vague idea of what independence means down the road. So it is a little bit more challenging type of planning as far as I'm concerned compared to having this concrete, I want to do this at this time and, more of a financial planning perspective.
Wow, that's a great point about that maybe causing someone to want more, more, more. Well, thank you for clarifying that and for providing all the nuggets that you did. Until next time, have a good one.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank you.